Welcome. This is Hernan Murdoch. We continue our conversation about audit planning and also in terms of the triple constraints. So let's take a look at what that's all about. To help us better appreciate and understand what goes into the audit planning process, we have with us today Kathleen Crawford, who's going to help us better understand this thing because she knows a lot about it. She's a subject matter expert and with many years of experience in all things auditing. Welcome, Kathleen.
Hey, Hernan, how are you today?
I am well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. So, we would like to know more about audit planning and some of the things that are pertinent to that part of the process. So, can you help us with that a little bit?
Absolutely. Well, the first graphic that we're looking at is got some information thanks to someone who's known as the godfather or a grandfather of internal auditing. His name was Larry Sawyer, Lawrence Sawyer. And audit project planning entails activities that are both pure research as well as applied research. So when you're thinking about the way in which you want to plan, you want to make sure that you cast a pretty broad net. Think about background information, prior year's work papers if we have them, policies and procedures of the area that we're looking at, financial reports, operational reports, and things of that sort. Whatever research, your pure research, your application of this thinking and reaching out to find the right information, then morphs into applied research. This is where there's
Mhm.
more conversation. This is where there's discussion. This is where we check our assumptions and in discussions with management, with maybe some subject matter experts in the area, process, or system that we're looking at, and certainly, if available, folks who have audited this area before.
Okay, so the planning is not only in terms of spreadsheets and ledgers, reports, although that's a very important part. That's the pure part of the research. Also looking in terms of what other auditors have done, but not only looking at that in written form, but also talking to people. So that also encourages collaboration and cooperation both with the clients and with others in our department, perhaps our other auditors who may have some experience with that engagement and that client. Is that
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, I think it makes what would be a two-dimensional process a three-dimensional process. We're able to
Excellent.
clarify what we've read on the printed page or the statistics that we might have read and bring it to life.
Mhm. Excellent. Okay, very good. That's very important to know. So, as we're putting all of this together, then in project management, there's some concepts around bringing pieces in alignment,
Mm-hmm.
and the triple constraints come to mind. Can you help us better understand what that's all about
Sure.
and walk us through how that applies to the process of planning and executing an audit?
Okay. We have another graphic to help us kind of frame the conversation. I believe that an audit is a project. We are project managers. We have to balance the cost of the work that we're doing, both quantitatively and qualitatively. We have to maximize a scope of work, and we have to keep our eye on the clock and the calendar. So, time is an element that we need to pay attention to. Cost or efficiency is an element we need to pay attention to, and scope of work is an element we need to pay attention to. And in the center of that, this balance allows us to produce a process and produce deliverables that are of the highest quality that we can manage with the management of the three things that affect it. So, quality
So,
is
as we
affected by cost, by scope, and by time.
So as we're doing all of this work, we cannot lower our quality standards. We
Mm-hmm.
need to make sure that we're producing everything that we produce as a result of this audit with a high expectation for quality. We have the standards to go by, we have the policies and procedures within the organization to go by, and just our professionalism also that should be reflected in the product. So quality is non-negotiable, and we need to make sure it stays at a high level, and all of these other elements are going to move as the process moves along, but we never compromise on quality. So that will be the constant. Is that right?
Yes, very definitely. And so I don't want
Okay.
our viewers to think that that the triangle or the pyramid that we've created is necessarily equilateral, but all of those elements matter for exactly what you said. We want to create a process of a high quality value to the organization, and we also need to make sure that the evidence that we collect or create supports the needs for which the audit was undertaken in the first place.
Excellent. Okay, so walk us through each one of those three elements then, please.
Sure. We're going to start off with scope. So scope is a way for us to think about what kind of audit are we doing, to focus our attention on what kind of audit we're doing. You might remember, viewers, in a previous episode, we talked about the four differences: financial, compliance, operational, and IT. We also talked about the organization of the IIA standards, and that the work might be more of a consulting nature or an advisory nature. So we have to be mindful of the standards that we're following as relates to the audit that we're doing. What kind of audit do we plan to do? So how much time, how much energy, how much depth do we need to go into with those areas, processes, systems, or functions? So deep, broad, yes, no, in, out. We really have to think broadly and deeply about the type of audit that we have, the whether or not the standards of consulting work or advisory work apply here. What about the areas, processes, systems, etc.? How much can we look at and appreciably do that quality job that we were talking about previously? So we have to
This is a great place to
we
this
have
is a
to
great
think
place to
carefully.
start because you have to be clear about what is it you're trying to do. So what you're going to do, then how long is it going to take you, and then how much do you have in the form of resource, or what do you need in form of resources to accomplish the scope in the timeline that you have been set. So okay, so scope. What's the next one?
Next one is a combination of cost and time. I like to frame
Yes.
this in the form of audit team member experience. So cost and time that we take, this cannot be the never-ending audit. So we have to marshal our resources of time and be very, very tuned into efficiency and effectiveness. So I have a series of questions that I would suggest that each of us uses introspectively and also looking at our team members. How can we be most effective? So will we begin with the end in mind? We have objectives. This audit was planned for this point in time for a particular reason. So are we keeping that end in mind and knowing that that time is finite and so are other resources? We're going to effectively use those resources. Are we able to and will we leverage methods, audit methods that produce the most compelling audit evidence that we can muster at this point in time under the conditions in which we're operating? Then there are a few questions with regard to efficiency. Are we employing time efficient methods? We might need to compare notes with our colleagues who are at least as experienced as we are, and perhaps even more so. How can we make sure that we don't waste time and don't waste effort?
Yes. Okay.
So we
That's
have
very helpful.
efficiency and
Yeah.
effectiveness.
Okay. I like the focus acronym that you have displayed for us.
I wish I
It
could
helps
say
us.
it was, yeah, I wish I could say I made that up. I didn't.
Oh,
Um,
you can't. Oh,
I
okay.
can't
All
take
right. Well,
credit.
we thank you for sharing it with us anyway, because all of these mnemonics are very helpful to make sure we don't forget some of these important things, and that we follow a good process along the way. So, thank you very much for helping us understand these elements and for being able to make sure that when we're planning, that we keep in mind what are some of the key elements that you need to go into the research part of it, and also in terms of the project management elements that go into planning as well. So we keep those elements all in equilibrium. And remember, always deliver with high quality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hernan.
If you like this series, subscribe to the ACI Learning YouTube channel to enjoy more audit-related content.